the first thing you notice is that it's got all kinds of screw holes on the right side. The left side is nice and clean, but the right side has all these screw holes, so that's something we're going to want to take a look at. And also, you notice that every time I pick it up, move it, or shift it, it creaks. It sounds very plasticky. So it's going to need to be toughened up to be an airsoft gun. That's something we're going to look at when we open it up inside.
Look at this beauty. The first part of the space frame is done. The major components are all fiberglass together. The pistol grip's been reprofiled and matches the game model, and all the major components that are going to comprise the space frame have been bonded together, except for just the last part here that'll support the air tank. That'll get added later, but mainly we're going to focus in the coming weeks on fitting in the needle retraction system. Check this out. The original model was creaky whenever handled. This makes no movement, no noise whatsoever when shaken. Just exactly what we're looking for out of our space frame. Having the strength, having no give whatsoever, and tough enough to take a baby hit since it's going to be an airsoft gun. The process of fitting in the needle retraction system begins with the needle chassis that goes into the bottom half of the upper shell. And to that, the needle retraction mechanism will mount, but it has to be carefully fitted. The challenge here is the upper shroud still has all the work needed to be done to it, and then it has to be test fit to the main body in the space frame, and then between the upper shell and the lower chassis, the needle retraction system has to fit. It has to fit perfectly, and there has to be enough clearance for all the rows of the needles to retract inside this shell. We're in the process of changing out the prototype chassis and needle elevation mechanism with our hopefully final version, just freshly printed. Instead of trying to screw into plastic, we've added these brass threaded inserts that are going to make the whole process much easier. Here's a look at the original prototype, and see it's been sanded, welded, painted, any variety of adjustments made to try and make it go. And now we have a much more professional looking permanent system. It's going to be outstanding, we hope, for moving our needles up and down cleanly, without jerks, without binds. We've got our stepper motors installed, and so far we've got our row 4 cable run installed. We're starting to make adjustments to our row 4 needle carrier, and we'll get that installed, and we'll continue to individually fit the items. Now our new replacement needle carriers are all printed for the most part without their tabs installed, which allows me to make a little bit of adjustment as we're gluing it up and getting things fitted to match the holes that were built into the 3D model with the best precision we could come up with at the time, but it should be pretty close to accurate. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about are the actual needle holders. When you use these items printed in resin, they'll support the needles on these tabs here. There's different setups for different rows, some rows of 3, some rows of 4, but the central needle or pair of needles will be supported directly by the carrier that'll move up and down the needle carrier on a shuttle. But then the distal additional needles will be mounted by way of a spring-loaded outrigger. So you have some flexibility. That allows the needles to kind of fold as they go into the chassis. It allows them to spread out wider so you get a much more aggressive stance from the needles when they stick out, but it will aid our retraction animation considerably by having just a little bit of flexibility out on the outer needles.